Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, and we are officially back with the Apex content. The new legend Wattson has come out, and today we're going to go into her kit and find out what makes her work efficiently. Now Wattson is completely different from the last legend that came out, which is Octane, since she is mainly a defensive legend, but there are some cases where you could use her offensively, just not in the way you might think. And with the start of season 2, I know there were many aspiring Wattson players, so if you are one of those, make sure you just sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. Also, I just want to mention that the season did come out a few days ago, so there might be some tips that come out in the future, and if that's the case, then be sure to add them to the comments below. That way, those of you who do want to learn more tips can actually learn those tips. Because of course, the main purpose of this video is for you guys to improve your game, and for you guys to fully understand these characters. And if I miss something, make sure to leave it in the comments so other people can, take part of that, and you can share that information with somebody. And that's kind of the beauty of the community. You want to share your info with people, so that way we can all improve together. Alright guys, with all that aside, let's get into the video. First of all, we're going to start off with her passive ability, which is Spark of Genius. Now this ability gives you the option to fully fill your ultimate meter if you use a ultimate accelerant. Now one tip I'm going to give you is to have an ultimate accelerant with you just in case you need it. Now don't use it right away, make sure that you let your ult charge naturally before you use it, and only use it if you're in a battle and you need it right away. But you also want to remember that there are other ultimates that might be better than yours for certain situations, so don't stack up on these ultimate accelerants. If you have a lifeline, for example, or a Gibraltar, make sure you also feed them ultimate accelerants that you find, because their ults will naturally come in more handy when in fights. Now I'm not saying that Wattson's ult is not as important as theirs, but it's mainly a defensive kind of ult, which means that you might not always need it. You always want to have an offensive ult on hand just in case you get into a tight pickle and you want to take out a team as fast as possible. Also, be sure to time when you do use these ultimate accelerants, because you don't want to use one when you're at 70 or 80% of your ult. Make sure that if you are close to getting your ult naturally, you just let it go all the way up, and once you have that ult, you either keep it in your pocket or you put down your ult and then use the ultimate accelerant so you have another one on hand. The last thing you want to do is be wasteful of these ultimate accelerants. Or if you don't think that you're going to need one anytime soon and you're about to get your ult naturally, just give your ultimate accelerant to someone else. Because to be honest, if you have one, you don't really need it until you get into a really important gunfight. So you might not need that ultimate accelerant after all. So if you do, like I said before, have a Gibraltar or a lifeline or maybe even a Pathfinder and you have to get to the top of a mountain really fast, so just give it to them. Like, don't worry about it. If you have an ultimate in your pocket already, then you're good to go. Just be careful how you use it, and we will get into that in the future. Now, so next we're going to be moving into probably what makes Wattson one of the most complex characters in the game, and that is her tactical, which is perimeter security. Now I put this tactical in the same line as Pathfinder, in a way where it's not easy to do. You don't just press a button and get something. You kind of have to figure out how you're going to make it work. Now her tactical ability are basically pylon towers that you can place, which create an electric fence. Now it works kind of similar to caustic traps, in a way where you can carry up to 4 at a time and you have to wait for the rest to reload before you can use them. Now you can have up to 12 of these on the map at the same time. Now the electric fence you create will give people a small amount of damage. Now it's not a lot, so don't expect it to really kill anybody, but it does hurt both your shield and your health. Also, it will slow you down a little bit. It's kind of like getting hit by a nade whenever you get slowed down and you can't really run or do anything. So you just kind of get down for free. And that's kind of how that works. And it's pretty annoying, to be honest. So it's not really a thing that you want to run through these, because it's not a smart idea whatsoever. But other than that, what makes these extremely powerful is that it will also notify your team. So if somebody does decide to run through your fence, your team will be notified. So not only will they take damage and they will be slowed, but you will also become aware of their presence. Now this might be an easy way to detect when you're getting third-partied by another team. So the worst thing in any battle royale is when you're fighting with a team and you get another team that comes up behind you and pretty much mops all of you up since you all are hurt from the battle. Now of course you can shoot these pylons, and this probably won't stop another third-party team from coming in and trying to mop up you and the team you're fighting, but at least you'll be notified. That way, if you actually have a chance to escape, since you don't think you can take on the fight, then you can do so, and that's extremely powerful. Now Wattson is very caustic-like in the fact that she becomes really OP in certain areas while she struggles in open areas. If you take Wattson a bunker, for example, she'll be extremely good because you'll be able to cut off a lot of options that the enemy team will have to go through. If you take her to somewhere like the swamps maybe, and it's a lot of open area with a lot of less cover, then she might struggle because she has no escape option. She has no get out of jail free card like a lot of the other legends. Wraith, for example, can escape with her invisibility, and Octane can of course juice himself up to try to get away, but she can't do that. So you have to play extremely smart, and you kind of have to anchor. Now of course this is a defensive tactical, which means that you are going to use it to keep people out most of the time. And of course this is an extremely good strategy, but a lot of people that I see are doing it the wrong way, which actually gets them killed. So of course, the first thing that you have to learn, and this might be obvious, is that you have to put these pylons where people can't shoot them. So putting them across the corner from doors and putting them in places like behind a stack of boxes or something will make it way more efficient, since you have to shoot the base of the rod to destroy it. This means that you have to be creative with the way you place them, and sometimes placing them in a hurry will not be too effective because you probably make mistakes where you put them, and this will make them easy targets for the enemy team to shoot out. So there are occasions where you're going to run from people and you're trying to get away, and you enter a room in order to escape and to hide, and the enemy team's right behind you. So you hurry up and you run through the door, you turn around and you try to place the 2 rods, but you get shot down because of course you didn't have enough time. Now I have a tip for this, and this is something that I learned very early in my Wattson gameplay because it's something that happened to me a lot where I would die because I didn't place the rods down fast enough. And my tip is that when you're running into a building, make sure that you place the first rod if you know that you're gonna make a wall. For example, if you run into a room and then you turn around and place the 2 rods, you might not have enough time. But if you place the rod as you're running into the room, all you have to do is turn around and place 1 more rod in order to make that fence across the door. So make sure that you place 1 down if you know you're going to use it. Also keep in mind that the electric fence will destroy doors. Now of course this is not going to be too, it's going to be a very situational tip, but it's always good to have that in mind. Now you could also use these to help your teammates heal. If you know that your teammate is going to heal behind a door or behind a box or something, you can put the fence around them. That way somebody has to destroy the fence in order to get a line of sight on them. You could also use this for zip lines. If you know that an enemy team is behind you and you use a zip line to get across a certain area, you can place the fence in front of the zip line. That way they either have to take time, line up the shot all the way from the end of the zip line in order to destroy the fence, or they're going to have to risk destroying the fence on while they're on the zip line, actually going down, which means it's going to be a harder shot, and if they do miss, they are going to hit the fence and take damage and be slowed, so that might give you an easy kill. You also don't even have to peek. If you're waiting for them to go through it and they do hit the fence, you'll be notified. That way you can peek the second you get notified and get a free kill. Now this is going to come in handy a lot early game. Sometimes you get those people that land and they start punching you before even finding a gun. And if that's the case, you can fence people out and there's nothing they can do about it without bullets. If they can't see the rods, they either have to run through the fence or try to find a gun to destroy the rods, because it's just not going to happen. And if somebody is trying to punch you, this is a great way to keep them away. Now I've noticed a lot of people do what I call the Fortnite strat, and that is when they're running from someone, they 180, place down a fence, and then 180 back and continue running. And they do this to try to stop them, or at least try to, delay them a bit with that fence. And to be completely honest, I don't think that's worth it. I think you're better off just running in a straight line, because a good player will always find a way around that fence pretty quickly. Now of course I'm talking about open areas. Like I said before, if you're in a closed area, then this is a decent strategy. Just make sure that they can't see the pylons, and there's nothing they can do about it. They either run through it or they just don't go through it at all. And if they do run through it, of course it's going to be an easy kill. You also want to keep in mind that Caustic can actually hurt these pylons with his trap, so make sure that if they do have a Caustic on your team, you are aware of that. Now for those of you who have been around my channel for a while, you guys know that I love to play aggressive. If you've seen my gameplays, I kind of rush everything, and I do this with every character no matter who I am. I can be Gibraltar and I'll run at a team, I really don't care. But to be honest, it was really difficult to make her a good offensive character. Now don't get me wrong, there are things that I learned that can make it more effective, but of course these are things that are going to be more situational compared to the other legends. One thing that I did learn is that if you are going to attack a team, a good offensive strat to use these pylons is to use them to kind of funnel the enemy team into a certain area. Now in the next tape I'm going to show you an example where I'm on top of a mountain and I'm getting rushed by an Octane. Now I put down the fence in order to funnel him into one side, which will make him easier to kill. Now of course you could have just shot the pylons, but when you're in a battle like this and everything's moving fast, it's kind of hard to think straight, so a lot of people will make mistakes. Take a look at this example and see for yourself how exactly these pylons work.
Yeah, I got fucking pissed, bro. He said muted. That's all he said, muted. Man hated y'all.
Now in that scenario, unless he shot the rods, he can only go far left or far right, which means that his movement is very predictable, which makes the shot a lot easier for me. And what I mean by this is that if you're fighting an enemy team, you kind of have to know what escape routes they have. If you end up hurting them a lot, they might try to get away from you, and you have to learn to visualize these escape routes that they have. And if you do learn to see these routes, then you can actually fence them off. And if you fence off a route or two that they have, then they're going to have to run through the route that's not fenced. And of course your team will be aware of this and you can ambush them. Now, of course, this takes a lot of coordination, and I know a lot of you guys don't play with a full team all the time, so it might be kind of difficult to do. But to be honest, Wattson is a very high IQ character, and she has a very high skill ceiling. You have to be aware of the opportunities that are going to come out for you to use these pylons. And eventually, the more you play her, the more you'll start to recognize these opportunities to use them, and of course, you become more effective. Now, of course, Wattson thrives off you choosing your own fights. You kind of want it to be your playground pretty much. And she thrives off pretty much setting her traps up in a building or small areas where the enemy team has to go through. And there are several tricks that I learned to do this more effectively. Now, sometimes when you're fighting with a team, there'll be one person on that team that rushes you. And say you're inside a building and this person runs in and gets down. What you want to do then is fence off the building as much as you can and don't kill that down person. Now, what the enemy team is going to try to do is try to get in there to save their teammate as fast as possible. But the thing is that they'll be entering your playground. You want to make sure that you set up everything, that way when they do decide to enter, it'll be hard for them to take you out. Now, this of course can mean setting up your ultimate and also setting up a bunch of your fences to make it hard for them to get through. They're going to be so dead set on trying to save their teammate that they might not even realize what's going on, and they'll make mistakes, which means that there'll be easy kills for you and your team. Okay, now we're going to move on to Wattson's ultimate ability, which is Interception Pylons. Now, this ultimate ability pretty much is used to deflect any ordinances like grenades or any throwables. It pretty much works like the trophy system from Call of Duty or Jaeger's trophy system from Rainbow Six Siege, and I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with that game. But one big tip that a lot of people actually don't know is you stop any kind of throwable, which means that you can actually stop Gibraltar and Bangalore ults. There are times whenever one of your teammates is down, so the enemy team will throw an ult on them in order to finish him. But if you throw down your ult, you can stop whatever ult is coming down on you and actually get the revive. This means that if you and your team get ulted on by a Gibraltar or a Bangalore, you can actually throw this down and possibly save your team from dying. And if you match this up with a Gibraltar on your team, you can actually put a shield up just to make sure that none of you get hurt. Now, this makes this ult extremely powerful, and you have to learn when to use it. Now, I'm not sure if it will eat up Caustic's ultimate. It might, because it is a throwable, so I would assume that it does. But I'm not also sure if it works out for his traps too. Maybe the machine will eat his traps. You know, sometimes you get those offensive Caustics that try to throw traps at your team, and it might eat that up because it is a throwable. So I'm not too sure because I haven't seen it happen. I haven't had that experience yet. But this should completely negate Caustic. Now, Wattson's ult does also recharge a small amount of shield at a time. So it's not going to be too big of a deal. It doesn't recharge it that fast. But another tip that I do want to give you is that if you are healing and you do have your ult nearby, make sure you heal your health first, because your shield will be recharging anyway. So make sure you get your regular health all the way up, and then that way you can finish off whatever shield you have left. Now, being close to your ultimate would also make your tactical ability recharge faster. So if you are close to it, you can set up traps even faster. You can set up fences way faster. And of course, this makes her a really good defensive anchor. Now, this ult will stay up no matter how long you leave it there. So it does not have a timer on it, which means that the only way it can go down is if somebody destroys it. That means that you can actually have up to 3 of these on the map at the same time, which means that if you do have a certain area that you're holding down with your team, it might be 2 or 3 buildings, you can actually give one to each building. But you also want to be careful because these can also heal your own enemies. Kind of how Lifeline's drone can actually heal the enemy, your ult will actually slowly heal the enemy's shield. So be careful with that and make sure you know where you're going to place it. Now, like I said, the only way for them to go down is for them to be destroyed. So make sure that you do hide this thing whenever you do decide to place it down. Now, another tip I'm going to give you is make sure that you shoot at the enemy team before you actually place this ult down. So if you are trying to come up behind people and have the element of surprise on your side, make sure you don't place down the ult because it does make a lot of noise and will notify people around you if you're there. Also, what a lot of people don't realize is that the thing is actually kind of tanky. Your ult actually eats up a good amount of bullets. Now, it's not too much, but it is effective as a cover in a certain way. So if you're ever Wattson, you don't have a get out of jail free card like a lot of the other legends, like I mentioned before. So there's not a lot of escape options you have. But if you are caught in the open and you do have your ult, you have to keep in mind that you could place your ult to give you cover. Now, of course, this is not going to be super effective, but it could give you that little bit of time to heal, or maybe you just need the cover and you can shoot back and try to down that enemy that is shooting at you. So like I said before, you have to think outside the box with this character because there are different ways of playing her. Now let's get into some of the other legends that she pairs really well with, and the first one is of course going to be Bangalore. Now, Bangalore smokes can actually make whatever building you decide to hold down extremely difficult for the enemy team to get through. How are they going to avoid running into fences if they can't see what's in front of them? So if you know that you have a bunch of fences set up and you have, a bunch of defenses ready, then you can tell your Bangalore to smoke the building. That way it makes it harder for them to enter. The same can be said with Caustic. If you match Wattson and Caustic, then you can funnel people extremely easy by putting fences and traps all around the building or whatever location you're trying to hold down. Imagine the panic an enemy team's gonna go through when they set off a Caustic trap and they run, trying to get out of the gas, and they run into a fence. And then maybe they'll run into your gun. So of course you want to be creative with the way you set these things up, but it can be extremely effective. Now Pathfinder will also be a good fit for this since he can find out where the next ring is going to be. If he uses his passive ability and finds out where the next ring is going to be, you can go to that location and start setting up your traps and defenses. And that's going to be what Wattson's main point is. She's going to be amazing endgame because you're going to be able to cut off escape options and just pretty much secure a location all by yourself pretty much. Just tell your team to cover you while you set up your defenses and you'll be good. Anyways guys, that's my Wattson guide. I hope you all enjoyed it. If y'all enjoyed the video, be sure to press that like button and also hit that sub button so you won't miss any of my future guides. I'll also be covering new weapons and the new legends that come out in the future of Apex, so make sure to stay tuned for that. And other than that, I hope you all have a great one guys. Enjoy your day.
Why is them snipe shots to make them respect a little?
You are the Apex champions.
It didn't matter, they just kept dipping the heal. You're carried. Yeah, but I did damage though.
Did you? On my screen said you did 25 damage.
What? 25?
I don't have the cure. I have one that says Pana.